Anchorage baker flew women into the Alaskan wilderness, released them, and hunted them down with a rifle. Robert Hansen did this for years. At least 17 women are believed dead. They called him the Butcher Baker, and no one in his community suspected a thing. Hansen's bakery sat at 828 East 9th Avenue, on the corner of 9th and Ingra in downtown Anchorage. From 6 in the morning until 5:30 in the evening, Robert Hansen served fresh donuts and warm bread to local residents. To his customers, his 2 children, and his wife, he was a hardworking, quiet family man. No one around him knew of his second life. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, Anchorage grew rapidly, fueled by the Trans-Alaska pipeline oil boom. The city became flooded with transient workers, and women frequently arrived seeking quick cash. Amidst this constant rotation of newcomers, Hansen's respected business identity provided a nearly perfect social camouflage. He was simply Bob the Baker, a local merchant who enjoyed backcountry hunting. The moniker Butcher Baker did not exist yet. It arose only after police exposed what happened behind his respectable storefront. Hansen sought out young, socially vulnerable women along the Anchorage nightlife strip, focusing on runaways, exotic dancers, and sex workers whose sudden absences might go unnoticed by local authorities. He lured them into his vehicle with offers of cash, transportation, or false promises of high-paying modeling opportunities. Once a woman accepted the offer, Hansen drove her directly to Merrill Field, a busy general aviation airport on the edge of downtown. At the airfield, Hansen guided his target to a private hangar. Official Federal Aviation Administration records show he owned a blue and white Piper PA-18 Super Cub, a single-engine Bush plane registered under the tail number N3089Z. He loaded the bound victim into the narrow cargo area behind the pilot's seat. The aircraft then took off into the uncontrolled airspace of south-central Alaska, flying far away from the city grid toward the vast, roadless interior. Hansen landed on isolated gravel bars in quiet clearings near the Knik, Matanuska, and Eklutna rivers. In these remote territories, thick boreal forest and freezing marshy terrain cut off any chance of escape or outside assistance. Hansen forced the women out of the aircraft and released them into the dense brush. He then pursued them on foot, armed with a rifle and a large hunting knife, using his tracking experience to locate them. This predatory system turned the vast geography of the Alaskan wilderness into a strategy for concealment. Hansen operated this aerial method for over a decade, leaving the remains of his victims hidden within the rugged terrain. Between the early 1970s and 1983, these disappearances remained entirely unconnected. When young women vanished from the Anchorage nightlife strip, local police routinely classified them as runaways or transient adults who had simply moved on to another town. The rapid growth of the oil pipeline boom brought thousands of temporary workers to the city, making a highly mobile population the norm. The social stigma surrounding sex work and nightclub employment lowered the urgency of these cases. Prosecutors later noted that these women were hardly missed by a system that lacked any unified database to track missing adults. Severe jurisdictional boundaries further fractured the response. The Anchorage Police Department handled the city streets, the Federal Aviation Administration monitored Merrill Field, and the Alaska State Troopers patrolled the remote state wilderness. Because these agencies operated in isolation, Hansen's respectable status as a local baker and married father shielded him. Viewed individually, the files never pointed to a single predator, but rather to a system failing to protect its most vulnerable. On June 13, 1983, the pattern of silent disappearances broke. 17-year-old Cindy Paulson, a dancer and sex worker, was on 6th Avenue in Anchorage when a man offered her $200. Once she was inside his vehicle, he pulled a .357 Magnum, forced her to his home, and bound her. Hours later, he drove her to Merrill Field to load his private aircraft. He left her in the vehicle with a threat. If she moved, he would kill her. While his back was turned, Paulson slipped out of her restraints, opened the door, and ran barefoot across the gravel runway toward the highway. A passing truck driver, Robert Yunt, saw the handcuffed teenager fleeing, stopped his vehicle, and pulled her inside. Instead of becoming another missing person file, Paulson chose to speak. She gave the Anchorage police a detailed, immediate statement. She described a man with a distinct stutter, a black Buick, and a blue and white Bush plane parked at Merrill Field. Most importantly, she gave them a location: Hansen's Bakery at 828 East 9th Avenue. Though some initial officers dismissed her account as improbable, The physical evidence of the handcuffs and the precision of her details forced a record. Her testimony moved investigators away from disjointed missing person reports and pointed them directly at a specific suspect. By providing the exact coordinates of the aircraft and the bakery address, Paulson's escape provided the breakthrough that finally put Robert Hansen on the radar of law enforcement. On October 27, 1983, investigators executed search warrants on Robert Hansen's home, his bakery, his vehicle, and his private plane. Inside the house, tucked behind a bed headboard, troopers uncovered an aviation chart. The map bore dozens of hand-drawn red X marks scattered across the Alaskan interior. Troopers initially counted 24 marks, many clustered near remote landing areas and river corridors along the Nick and Matanuska. While some coordinates matched the exact locations where remains had already been found, other marks pointed to areas where remains had yet to be recovered. Along with the map, the search turned up a Ruger Mini 14 rifle, ammunition, photographs, and personal jewelry belonging to missing women. That same day, state troopers arrested the quiet baker, and the respectable public identity that had shielded him for over a decade collapsed. On October 28, 1983, Robert Hansen began his formal confession, admitting to the abductions and murders of 17 women. Because of the vast Alaskan terrain and the difficulty of gathering physical evidence for every case, prosecutors opted for a plea arrangement. This structured agreement focused on 4 specific murder convictions, alongside the charges for Cindy Paulson's kidnapping and assault. Investigators systematically cross-referenced Hansen's claims with his flight logs, recovered remains, and missing person reports, refusing to rely solely on his word. By February 27, 1984, the proceedings concluded with Judge Ralph Moody sentencing Hansen to 461 years, plus a life term. While the court record resolved these specific charges, the actual number of victims remains uncertain. Dozens of marked map coordinates, incomplete wilderness remains, and unresolved disappearances left many families without definitive answers. Today, unmarked red X's still scar the Alaskan wild, hiding secrets Hansen took to his grave. For families of the missing, the nightmare never truly ends. What do you think? Share your thoughts below.